Thank you, sir.
All right. Good morning. And no, it's not Friday. He just couldn't find a red one. So, WTF CNN, WT.
Um, no.
WTF indeed. That's better. It's always better when the sounder runs. Okay.
Oh, and by the way, as Chris alluded to the fact, yeah, normally white hats are reserved for Fridays, but my boys like to wear my Trump hats and run around the yard while they play Army Man. Because Army men wear hats and they support the president. And they're so funny. Donald Trump is the president.
Oh, all right. Well, let's just get stuck right into it today.
Oh, good morning, Miss Danielle.
Hey. So here's what we're talking about today: the media lying about lying. In fact, the media is lying about the numbers. There are a few stories out. We're going to look at two in particular today, where the media is taking a thing that occurred and trying to change it to make it something it's not. Okay, so CNN reports two states that opened early questioned over public access to COVID 19 data. That headline is technically not false. Technically?
Technically.
Uh, Florida and Georgia, two states that were among the first to announce the reopening of business and public spaces amid the health crisis, have come under scrutiny for their reporting on COVID 19 data. In Florida, Rebecca Jones, the official behind the state's dashboard, a webpage showing the number of COVID 19 cases and deaths in Florida, that's been praised by Dr. Deborah Birx, says she was removed from the project and questioned the state's commitment to accessibility and transparency, according to Florida Today. That's true. She has been removed from the project. And that fact was reported by Florida Today. That's true. And then she goes, oh, in Georgia, data tracking COVID 19 cases has come under question after a misleading chart was posted on the State Department of Public Health's webpage. That's sort of true. And I pulled up the article from the Atlanta Journal Constitution, who should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, the local station here in Atlanta has already pulled the article apart.
Um, in fact, you know what? I should have pulled up my response to him on Twitter. As soon as that article came out, I read it, and the headline seemed to suggest that the Georgia government had gone out of its way to misreport data to incorrectly suggest that Georgia was on the downward trend, and that there were fewer and fewer cases. The headline seemed to suggest that in fact Georgia was misleading people, and that suggestion is not correct. Okay, now technically their headline did not say that the cases in Georgia are actually on the rise. But when your headline is that the government is misreporting that there is a downtrend, especially when you know damn well that the average reader is going to take that to mean that if the data does not suggest the thing that it is into, if the
Try
data
again.
does if the data does not seem to say what it seems like it's supposed to say, then the opposite must be the thing that's true, right? That's the assumption that people are walking away with. And I don't say that arbitrarily. I don't operate on the presupposition that that is what I think people will take away from it. No, no. Um, um, if you read people posting on social media and commenting on articles, they're clearly reading the headline and then they're posting it on social media. Look, look, the government's lying to you. Cases in Georgia are actually exploding, and the government's trying to tell you that they're on the downtrend. No, even as long as you go ahead and read the article, it turns out, oh, what? In fact, here's the article. Um, it says, in fact, there was no. In this article, it even says, in fact, there was no clear downward trend. Oh, but wait. The In the same article, do 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 do. Damn, it's a long article.
Well, yeah, you got to bury the truth
Yeah,
in
you got to bury the
paragraph
truth.
14.
You got to bury the truth where even after I've already read it this morning, it's hard to find. Um. Okay. Okay. It says there is no clear downward trend, and cases have what the hell? And cases have held steady or dropped in the past 2 weeks. Wait. So
Wait, uh,
there is
let's just try to do the math.
this
No,
sentence cannot be true at the same time that this sentence is true. You have two sentences separated by a single punctuation, which cannot both be true.
I don't like. I'm picturing the meme where all the mathematical equations are like floating around the lady's head. She's trying to figure something out. Like, okay, hold on. If zero divided by zero, what is it? In fact, you know what? I'm reminded of the pilot of Firefly. It's nothing divided by nothing. Take it with the nothing. Still nothing.
It makes me wonder if I go and look up other articles by Willoughby Mariano and J. Scott Truby, if I'll find that they're damn liars on every other case that involves the president. Hmm. Wouldn't that be
And the
interesting?
governor. The
And
governor.
the governor. And the governor. And Stacey Abrams, hey, let's you know what? Let's take a quick peek. I wonder if Willoughby or Truby, either one, reported that Stacey Abrams is actually the governor.
Or should be. Watchdog team, an expert on
Housing
housing
and
and
criminal
criminal.
justice issues.
That's a
Okay.
resume right there.
Oh, wow. So she's an activist, not a journalist. Um, oh, Georgia's COVID-19 hospitalizations dropped by a third. That's interesting. Error leads to dip in Georgia's COVID-19 cases. Oh? Oh, and we'll get into it's just cuckoo. Okay, yeah. Health centers received more than 12.2 million for COVID cases. Okay, so she's a doomsayer. Oh, this should go back to the same article we were just looking at.
Doom.
We've got it's just cuckoo, said Rep Scott Holcomb, Democrat, Atlanta, who sent the letter outlining his concerns. I don't know how anyone can defend this graph as not being misleading. I really don't. Okay, so the graph in question, what they're talking about, there was a graph put out by the government in Georgia that showed the it showed the days on which there was the most improvement, right? And it did so non-sequentially. Now, I'm not going to defend that. That's a goof. That's goofy as hell. But the fact remains, even if their graph was goofy as hell and a poor way to represent data, which it was, the suggestion that's being made in this article is, oh, not a suggestion, but a plain, bald-faced statement. There was no clear downward trend. but there was.
Yes, this is your media. Thank you,
I mean,
CNN.
I don't understand. Are you liars, or are you just really bad writers?
It's Pravda.
Covers economic development, commercial real estate. Previously covered banking, airlines, hospitality and tourism, crime and government. That sounds like a reasonable. That actually sounds like a reasonable set of uh, bona fides. Okay, so this guy looks like maybe he's not quite so hard bent an activist as the other one. But still, you let your name be put on even just this paragraph. Even just this paragraph. You got to be kidding me. Um, and then let's. Oh, go
And
ahead.
then this is what CNN uses for a source. I mean, it goes back to that whole circular thing we've talked about with the Russiagate collusion, where nobody would pick up the Steele dossier, and then finally BuzzFeed mentioned the Steele dossier, so other news media sources used the fact that somebody else reported about the Steele dossier to report about the Steele dossier. Like
Yeah, you're talking about I'm gonna look it up real quick because Tim Pool references this often, but he didn't coin it, and he always gives credit to the guy that coined it, and I can't remember that cat's name, but I'll read the wiki article on it. Um, the phenomenon of cytogenesis or circular reporting is situation in source criticism where a piece of information appears to come from multiple independent sources, but in reality comes from only one source. In many cases, the problem happens mistakenly through sloppy intelligence gathering practices. That's incorrect. Let's not forget, Wikipedia is a great place to find a list of sources for an article that is misleading. Um, in fact, more importantly, Wikipedia is a great example of bad cytogenesis. But it's a good starting point for many things. I was hoping to find the name of the guy that started the. Okay, that's a lot of sourcing to read through on air. Anyway, basically what happens, and yeah, the Russia Trump dossier is a great example. You'll have one normally disreputable news source like BuzzFeed publish an article, and the article's clearly false. But then, all your big outlets, your CNN, your MSNBC, uh, ABC, all the big liars will run with the article, and they'll originally cite the BuzzFeed article that was published. But then once they've all got their articles published, they'll go back, because it's all online, they'll go back and stealth edit. They'll remove the disreputable source, and then they'll use one another as sources so that it becomes unclear what the original source material was. And what that means is that an actual source doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, it's it's destructive, and it's such an easy trick to pull off, especially if you've talked before about how modern warfare is amorphous. You don't have to have a general giving people orders because all of the cells are basically of the same mind and understand how to operate in concert with one another without being told when or how to act.
Yeah,
And I
the
think,
best example of that was the maybe one of the best examples of that, or at least one of the most transparently clear examples of that, was the IRS targeting scandal under the Obama administration with what was her name?
Lois Lerner.
Lois Lerner. So, you know, Obama Obama swore off any knowledge of the occurrence, blamed it entirely on her. Uh, the IRS blamed it entirely on that field office. We now know from evidence and reporting that no, it wasn't just that field office. It was several offices. It was happening all over the IRS. It was systemic. And the fact is this: it does not matter if Barack Obama personally gave the order to Lois Lerner. The fact is, he created an environment in which people like her, his zealous supporters, and he knew this on the front end, would take actions that they thought would help the president achieve his ends, his goals, his objectives. And for zealous, diehard left wing cultists like Lois Lerner and most most devoted Democrat voters, um, operating within the law is not part of their dogma. Their dogma is essentially restricted to the causing of harm. As we've seen with the two stimulus bills under COVID-19, a Democrat the Democrats never want to win anything unless it also causes harm to a political opponent or a political opposition group. If if giving money to poor people who were struggling and starving because the government made them involuntarily shuffle off from their sources of income and livelihood, if the government makes all people hurt and a solution can be developed, the Democrat does not want that solution to be implemented unless it also causes additional harm to people who might vote for Trump.
Yeah, there's got to be mud in your eye. But what I was driving at is I actually think inside the culture of corporate media, everybody is of such a similar mindset. They don't have to coordinate these things. They all know who is on the same page as whom else. And as soon as one of them does something, the other ones all just fall in line, go in that big circle. You know, when we had my dad on our special show over the weekend, you know, one of the things that he said was turn off the media. You'll be less depressed. You'll be less angry, man. And that's the truth. Like we cover things that CNN say, and even have fun making fun of them and whatnot. But I just don't watch 24-hour news anymore. Like, I get it. It's a product. And as a capitalist, I believe they have the right to exist in an attempt to sell themselves. That's fine. But man, they're trash. They're trash. They really are. Um, and I think it goes all the way back to it's something that we've talked about before about how there's no such thing as unbiased. As soon as you decide what story needs to be covered and which story does not need to be covered, you've already got a bias. Um, that's one of the things that I really like about Tim Pool. I don't agree with a lot of his politics, but he's always honest with me about where his bias lies. So I can factor that into the equation as he reports the news. So that's why we're so honest about our bias on this show. You can factor it into the things that we report because, hey, we could be wrong. In fact, if we're not at least, no, look, if we're not at least occasionally wrong, we are not trying to push the discussion forward. You have to risk being incorrect in order to move the ball down the field. It is what it is.
Well, yeah, and it's done is better than perfect. If you're not willing to write a bad first draft, you're never going to finish a paper. You're never going to finish a script, and you're never going to make a movie. If you're not willing to make a bad first draft, you're never going to have a thing that can be improved.
Right,
You
right.
have to start somewhere.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good.
But these articles from CNN and the AJC, these are not bad first drafts. These are deliberately misleading.
Yes, yes, they are. And let me just say, as somebody that lives in Georgia, as somebody that voted for Brian Kemp, I still think this was the right move. It's ballsy, it's gutsy, it's real leadership. Somebody had to go first. And Kemp knew with his Southern accent and his contentious election with Stacey Abrams that he was going to be the target of so much incoming fire. And he went and did it anyway. And that is what a leader does. And just to, as all this has gone on, and I've gotten more and more suspicious of all this stuff with the commie cough, I'm not somebody that believes that there's no such thing as a coronavirus. Obviously, there's a coronavirus. I know people that have had it. Like it's a real thing. But I know people that have had it and have recovered from it. And then the facts come out that most of the deaths have been in, well, when I say most, about half the deaths have been in nursing homes and retirement communities, old people with other comorbidities. And one of the things that always bothered me about this is that they closed damn near everything. No more parks, no more church, no more baseball games and all that. But you can still go to Kroger. And it's like, okay, all right. So if the only place everybody can go is Kroger, isn't that just where the virus is going to spread? Is at Kroger? Like, it goes back to the whole subway thing in New York. Like, they didn't even bother cleaning the damn thing until just a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me? Much less leave it open. I mean, you're going to pack thousands of people an hour into little fart tubes, and you're shocked that New York has more cases than any other state. I'm not, because duh. But anyhow,
Now,
that's
just
all
real
I got.
quick, um, I want to show you guys a couple things. I just pulled it up. Okay, so Georgia coronavirus trend. This data is provided. Okay, this is the data that Bing wants to throw right at you, right out front. This is the data from the CDC, the WHO, and I'm actually not sure who the ECDC is. The European CDC. Got it. And right, what I first typed in. Now this time I typed in Georgia coronavirus trend. What I first typed in, I was looking for the trend line, and this 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 is showing you as a trend line, but spread over time. That's not a trend line. Okay, this is it's they're trying to scare you a little bit extra here. This is showing total confirmed cases and total confirmed deaths over time. But you see that line looks pretty flat. There's just, yes, people died. Yes, we've got 1,680 deaths in Georgia. Okay. Yes. 38,000 confirmed cases in Georgia. Okay. Gotcha. But what about, oh, look at that. No, that doesn't look at all like a clear downward trend beginning on 420. Okay. So from April 20th, looks like April 20th was the peak. And oh, it just keeps going down. You got a short little spike, and then it goes down and down and down, right? Now, 14-day window confirmed cases over the last 14 days may not be accounted for due to illness yet to be reported, and test results may still be pending. But oh, there's that downward trend that. Wait, what was that? What was that? AJC? There was no clear downward trend. I, I'm sorry. What was that? there's a clear downward. If you look at the data from 27 April, right? Let's be as generous as possible. That's the last big spike. That looks like a clear downward trend. Let's see. When was this article published? Oh, May 13th. So you're telling me that according to your article, AJC, you damn liars. According to your article, from April 27th to May 13th, let's see, there was no downward trend. Where's May 13th? You got all the way, you got that far. And that is not a downward trend? Are you kidding me? That is such a clear downward trend. If it was an economic report, you'd think Obama was the president.
Oh, zing! And I'm looking at that cute little map there. Man, isn't it interesting where once you move basically OTP, no more red spots? It's almost like being packed together in a city is the worst place to be during any type of crisis.
Oh. Yeah, let me see. This is where I am. 252 confirmed cases. Let's see. You're up.
A little more. Nope. Down. One more. Oop, left.
There you are. 80 cases. Wow, 43,000 people. You have a lower population than New York City has deaths.
I have, and I live here on purpose.
That was hyperbolic. New York does not. Actually, was it? Does New York have how many deaths in New York?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. And then that's about all I've got. New York COVID deaths. 22,000. So your population is roughly double that of the COVID deaths in New York City. That's unfortunate, New York. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, but you go right ahead. You keep riding your trains.
Yeah. Good luck with that. And that's all I've got today. Danielle, enjoy the class, and I hope you have a good breakfast. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Hey, like, share, subscribe, comment, feed the algorithm.
Yes,
help
please,
us out.
gods.
We love our viewers.
I've been seeing more comments and more responses lately. Not by a whole lot, but by a definitely noticeable margin. Hell, get in there and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm an asshole. Blow us up. I'll respond. I might even make you a video. But until tomorrow, y'all be safe out there, and keep an eyeball out for that Totar Win. There's got to be one today. And I've got to reboot this machine.